Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
go.
Okay. It's good. I'm just gonna do quick. I'm starting,
And then it's Catherine.
and then it's Nancy, and then you.
That's right.
Okay, we got it. Hello. Okay. Well, good morning. What a great morning. Lois Frankel from Florida. All right. You can hold the applause. Okay. Well, listen, today I am here with, as you can see, many members of the Democratic Women of the United States Congress, but more importantly, we are grandmothers and mothers and wives and daughters and sisters.
And aunts.
And okay.
And bonus mom.
And we are here to endorse for president a champion for our freedom, for our safety, for our economic security. And, of course, you know who that is, Kamala Harris and Kamala Harris. That was an inside joke. And with that, I turn this over to our whip, Catherine Clark.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you to EDW and Lois Frankel for gathering us together. Let me start by expressing my immense gratitude for the selfless patriotism of President Joe Biden. He is one of the most impactful presidents in modern history, with a record of achievement that will reverberate for generations to come. Now, as Vice President Harris seeks to build on that progress, as she fights to save our democracy and create an economy that works for working people, and to protect reproductive freedom across this country, the Democratic women of the House offer our proud, full-throated endorsement of her campaign for President of the United States. That's right. We see ourselves in her, and more importantly, Kamala Harris sees us. She has a vision for the future that includes everyone and reflects the needs and priorities of women from every corner of this country. She has a vision of freedom and dignity and opportunity for all of our children. Donald Trump has another vision: relegating women to second-class citizenship, rigging the economy against working families, and eroding the most basic values of our democracy. The American people face a choice in the months ahead. Will we have freedom for all or power for a few? Will we ban abortion or invest in childcare? Will we build an economy that works for everyone, or will we endow corporations with more rights than our daughters? Vice President Harris has been in this fight her entire career. Through every chapter of her public service, she has been the antithesis of Donald Trump. She leads with dignity and compassion. He capitulates to cruelty and greed. She stood up to Big Pharma. He gave them a tax break. She cut childhood poverty in half. He crashed our economy. She lowered the cost of health care for millions of families. He wants to gut Medicare and repeal the ACA. She prosecuted sex offenders. He is one. The stakes of this election are without precedent. Our democracy is on the line. Our freedom is on the line. The unfulfilled promise of our republic is on the line. And thank goodness we have a champion in Kamala Harris who has stood forward. We are united behind her because she is the experienced leader we need at this moment, at this crossroads in our history, to be our champion, to reject extremism and build a future worthy of all of our children. And speaking of champions for children. It is my pleasure to yield this podium to the iconic, the legendary Speaker Emerita, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Whip Clark, for your very, very inclusive and comprehensive presentation about what is at stake. Two different visions of America. America was truly blessed, has been, continues to be blessed by the wisdom and the magnificent leadership of President Joe Biden. With love, okay. With love and gratitude, I salute President Biden for always believing in the possibilities of America. You know, when he said, then they say, what's one word? When people ask me, give me one word about America, he said possibilities. And those are possibilities for every family to reach its fulfillment. In his belief in possibilities, in his goodness, in the goodness of the American people, and working to make it possible for people to reach their fulfillment. Last night, we saw President Joe Biden talk about his legacy, which frankly is our legacy too. The House Democrats passed those occasionally bipartisan, hopefully more so in the future, but nonetheless. And Whip Clark went through some of that in saying the difference between the two visions for America, for Kamala, Vice President Harris, soon to be President Harris, and what's his name? So last night we saw President Biden, one of the most consequential presidents in American history, who accomplished so much in the progress that we've discussed, to say the best way to have the progress go forward is to pass the torch to another generation. And that is what he did, with great eloquence, with great values, with great vision. And as our distinguished Whip Clark said at the end about our children, and what Kamala Harris is about, and I've known her for decades. I know her officially, her strength. Kamala is about strength and determination in terms of public policy. We know most recently in terms of a woman's right to choose, but the list is vast, as Whip Clark mentioned. I know her personally. She's a person of great faith, of deep faith, and commitment to public service in the most unselfish way. And again, politically, make no mistake, this is a politically astute Vice President of the United States. I've seen her in action. I can talk about it on another occasion at more length, but let me just say, she is capable, officially, personally, and politically, to lead us to victory in November. So it's a very exciting thing. So we have, again, her taking the torch so gracefully. Now, not to go back into the contrast, but because it was very eloquently presented by our Whip, but there are some other things too. When she announced that she was running, and the president endorsed her in that, around 1.5 million people gave an average of $100 each, raised over $100 million from small donors. So enthusiastic. He's sitting at the table with Big Oil saying, you give me $100 million, I'll give you $1 billion in tax breaks. It's all over. It's all over, what's your name? It's all over. That's not how Washington should run, and under Kamala Harris, people's voices will be heard in a very different way than you're trading at the table with Big Oil, Big Pharma, big guns, big money. It's about the people. So again, as Kamala, as our distinguished Whip said, it's about what we're doing here for the children, honoring their aspirations. Instead of shutting down the Department of Education and Head Start and the rest of that, as their project 2025 will do. Instead, it's about honoring the vision of a democracy, the courage of our founders, the courage of our men and women in uniform to protect our freedoms, and again, the aspirations of our children. Are we ready? Are we ready? Now, as you know, As you know, we believe that when women succeed, America succeeds. And one of the champions of that motto is Congresswoman Joyce Beatty of Ohio.
Thank you so much. I still call you Speaker Nancy Pelosi. It is indeed my honor to join EDW today to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris as our candidate for president. We have had the honor to work with her, to serve with her, to travel with her, and we have witnessed her reach down, lift up, and captivate young children. I have seen her strength. I have seen her as America has seen her stand up for law and order and justice, as well as a protector of those whose voices are not heard. I join others in thanking President Joe Biden for his work and for giving us the best way forward by passing the torch to Vice President Harris. I say to all listening and watching us today, I declare today a clarion moment because history is in our hands. We hold the power. This past Sunday, 44,000 women joined a call to support our candidate, Vice President Harris. She is smart, strong, strategic, serious, sincere, and yes, suited up to be President of the United States of America. She has been a strong governing partner with President Joe Biden. Healthcare, women's reproductive rights, climate change, safer communities, civil rights, voting rights. I can tell you this because we have had the lowest unemployment rate in the history of our presidents. 15 million new jobs, $16 billion to HBCUs, $35 cap on insulin for our seniors. Yes, and we may applaud on that. Loan forgiveness for some 4 million students by applying $167 billion to that effort. She will continue all of that. And as we talk about our children, being able to pull 50% of our children out of poverty, that tells you, yes, two different visions. A vision of hope, a vision of freedom, against a vision of hatred, a vision of dismantling our future. So lastly, when you asked who is Vice President Harris, she is battle tested, she mobilizes, she strategizes, and she will lead us into the future because we know she will be our next president of the United States of America. And now it gives me great pleasure to pass it off to Congresswoman Chu.
Hello, I'm Congressmember Judy Chu, and I'm proud to stand with elect Democratic women as we endorse Kamala Harris as our next president of the United States. And let me talk about the issue that is front and center for women right now. 2 years ago, the MAGA justices on the Supreme Court ripped away reproductive freedoms from tens of millions of Americans with their Dobbs decision. For the first time in America's history, young women have fewer rights than their grandmothers. But Vice President Harris has been on the front lines in the fight against this. She's not only been our party's leading messenger on reproductive freedom, she will ensure that Trump's role in overturning Roe is front and center in this election. We know all too well that the stakes can't be higher this November. Our very rights are on the line. All of us are here today fighting hard to protect women's freedom to make deeply personal decisions of when to start or grow their families. We are fighting to ensure that women's health care decisions remain between them and their doctor. Democrats have been winning on this issue in every state where abortion has been in the ballot, including deeply conservative states. That is why we've seen Republicans try to hide their extreme stances, knowing how unpopular they are. But make no mistake, regardless of what he says on the campaign trail, if Trump wins, he will pass a national abortion ban on day one. But this will not happen with Vice President Harris as our nominee. Democrats will run a campaign focused on our vision to build a better future, a country where hard-working American taxpayers can breathe easier, and our fundamental freedoms, including every woman's right to make her own health care decisions, are respected. When we elect Vice President Harris as our next president, and when we take back the House and keep the Senate, she will finally sign my Women's Health Protection Act into law and restore the right for every woman in this country to receive abortion care no matter what their zip code. No longer will there be state-level bans and restrictions that impede access, and no longer will we face a future where we could have a nation of forced birth. These are the stakes this November. No one is better suited to take the fight to Donald Trump and Republicans who know we are scheming to even restrict access to IVF and contraception. But this will never happen under Kamala Harris. She fought for Californians as Attorney General and Senator. She fought for Americans as Vice President. And I know she will fight for women in America and all Americans. I am so honored to say that Elect Democratic Women is fully behind Kamala Harris to be the first ever Asian American, Black American woman to serve as President of this United States. And now, I have the honor of turning the podium over to the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Congressmember Nanette Barragan.
Well, my colleagues have said it all, but this is about moving forward, not going backwards, right? This is about freedom. And if you didn't see her video today, watch it. It will inspire you. It was so good. Vice President Harris is the candidate best positioned to beat Donald Trump. No one is better prepared than Vice President Harris to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. Elections are about a choice. And this November, we have a choice between a hard-working prosecutor and a convicted felon. Vice President Harris was part of the only ticket to ever beat Trump, earning 81 million votes in 2020 as Joe Biden's running mate. We cannot risk another Trump presidency. If he's elected, he will implement his extreme Project 2025 agenda on day one, which is a 920-page blueprint to take over the government, take away freedoms, and threaten the middle class and seniors. He would criminalize abortion nationwide with no exceptions, raise costs on the middle class, and end both Social Security and Medicare as we know them. He chose a running mate who may be even more extreme than he is on restricting women's rights to an abortion, and who have also advocated for women staying in abusive relationships. His choice of J.D. Vance made clear that he has an anti-woman agenda if he gets back in the White House. This is a man who, when he had the chance to unite the country last week at the Republican National Convention, chose to further stoke hatred toward immigrants as his extreme MAGA followers waved around mass deportation now placards. He does not care who gets swept up in his deportation operations and has even admitted that some innocent Americans may get deported. But he's okay with that as long as he accomplishes his goal of mass deportations. The American people deserve leaders like Vice President Harris, who put people over politics, not extreme MAGA Republicans who will make our lives harder and take away our rights. And as the Vice President says, we are not going to go backwards. We are going to move forward. Won't go back. We won't go back. We won't go back. We won't go back.
We won't go back.
So we're going to do everything we can to win and support her. Women, we got to be on the road, on the campaign trail, because this is going to take women on the road. And with that, we turn it over back to our leader, Lois Frankel.
Okay. All right. So we thought for the purposes of the campaign, we'd bring up two of our members from swing states, from Pennsylvania, Madeline Dean, and from Michigan, Haley Stevens. They're just going to say a word of what they think this nominee means for election in their state. Go ahead, Madeline. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Madeline Dean from the Keystone State, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Lois, thank you, elect Democratic women, for this extraordinary showing of support for Vice President Kamala Harris. I join my voice with all of yours to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. I'll be brief. I want to first say about the president. How beautiful was his speech last night, his remarks to the nation. It was just magnificent. A round of applause for the selflessness. How lucky have we been to serve alongside him these 3.5 years, and for the next 6 months, I can't wait for what the future brings. But I say that I come from the Keystone State. You know, by way of our history, Pennsylvania was considered the Keystone State back in the colonial era, the founding of our country, because of its geographic, political, and economic centeredness. We are going to be the Keystone State again in this election when we elect Kamala Harris and whomever her vice presidential running mate might be. It is her choice. I can't wait to hear what it might be. But Pennsylvania is so excited, so ready for the first African-American, Asian-American woman to be president of the United States. I associate myself with the beautiful, eloquent words of everyone here, and I want to end with what she just started today. If you saw her campaign launch video, her phrase is, "We choose freedom. We choose freedom. We choose freedom." The contrast couldn't be greater. Proud to stand here endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris.
Michigan, Haley Stevens from Michigan, and I just want to say from the heart of automotive country, Joe Biden has passed the keys to Kamala Harris to be the first woman, the next president of the United States. Kamala Harris loves Michigan. She was there making sure. Oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. It does, because she was in our state making sure we were getting vaccinated when we rolled out the Rescue Act. She's been there doing the infrastructure bill rollout, making sure that that is executed, and she has been shining alongside our manufacturing economy. Every time I see our next president of the United States, I tell her, please come to the Mitten, because we love you and you fire us up. So I'm so proud to stand here alongside my sisters, elect Democratic women who do the work to get women into office. And now we are taking on the ultimate charge, which is to get Kamala Harris as our next president. This is a big moment. I am so proud of President Biden. I was proud to support him, and I am proud to support him now in endorsing Kamala Harris as our next president. Right from the Mitten. Thank you.
All right. Any questions from the press today? Yeah, go ahead. Yes, you're going to just take all the good stuff.
Well, first of all, this is some more misinformation and disinformation. The vice president was never in charge of the border. She was never in charge of immigration policy. On the contrary, it's Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is in charge of border policy. He's in charge under Homeland Security. And Republicans already tried to impeach him and failed. So what are they doing now? They're making it up and blaming her. What Vice President Harris was in charge of addressing root causes of migration, a diplomatic effort in other countries, in the Northern Triangle in specific. And you ask, what did she do? She helped raise $5 billion to invest in the economy in these countries with the private sector. And when she first started, migration from those countries started at 41%. 41% of people that were migrating were coming from those Northern Triangle countries. In 2023, that went down to 21%. So don't come and start the false lies, because we're going to make sure to correct them.
All right. Bring the receipts, Chair. Bring the receipts.
Oh, the other thing that I didn't mention is we are actually at a low of border crossings, lower than even when Biden left. So what has been done by this administration right now has been working, and we got to continue to get Congress to pass comprehensive immigration reform, and that is ultimately what we got to do to fix the broken immigration system, something Republicans are not interested in doing.
Now, on January 20th, when Joe Biden took the oath, day one, he had an immigration reform bill, which Republicans have walked away from that and other bills that were approved by border security agents.
400 people signed
because
up
they want
to knock on
the
doors
issue
in Michigan
and
and
not the
Wisconsin
solution.
in 2 days.
Okay, and that question, yes.
What are your reactions to Republicans calling Vice President Harris a DEI hire?
We can't hear
We
you.
can't hear you say.
Response to them calling her a DEI candidate.
I'll follow you.
You can go. No, just you can answer.
First of all, it's ridiculous. First of all, it's ridiculous. As a member of the Congressional Black Caucus and someone who's had the opportunity to serve as the Diversity and Inclusion Chair, thanks to Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who is sitting here, when you don't have anything else to say and you search for things, you make up things to make it. Clearly, she is not a DE&I candidate. If you look at her credentials, if you look at her history of running for elections, if you look at how battle-tested she is. And so I'd like to say we're not going to be baited by that. We're not going to be distracted by that. We know who she is. She clearly knows who she is and what her background, what her ethnicity is. And I just think they're searching, because now they are more afraid than ever that they have a candidate that can debate, a candidate that is intelligent, and a candidate that they know that they're going to lose to.
And she has more experience in doing things.
Exactly.
Sure.
Right.
I'll just build on that. They are nothing if not consistent. These are no longer dog whistles. These are full-on bullhorns. And it's predictable. But Kamala Harris has been a woman of color her entire life. She knows what it is to be underestimated. She knows what it is to be discredited. And those who underestimate her do so at their own peril. Kamala Harris is poised. She is prepared. And she is qualified. And she is poised and to build the broad coalition that we need to win decisively in November.
Okay. Well, I wish, just think about it. She was the Attorney General of California, the U.S. Senator, and the Vice President. And she was a district attorney. All right. That other question? Yes.
But let us officially say, there you go. She will choose the best qualified person for the job, the best person to serve this nation with her. Last question.
Yes, Claudia, how does it think we are? We keep hearing about the Biden campaign infrastructure moving over to Harris. Can you talk a little bit about getting the campaign trail for Harris? If you were doing it before for Biden, how it changes, how it may not change?
I think
I can just say this: we'll all be out there for her. everybody in this room, and many more.
Go ahead, Joyce.
I think
we can speak to that.
in meeting with her campaign folks, let me just tell you, it was a Biden-Harris ticket. And so when the Biden-Harris ticket was put together, they jointly worked with, approved with those individuals who were serving. Think about it, 105 days before the election, who in their right mind would try to vet, start over with a new campaign, with new financials, and with the momentum that we've had from day one with her? I'd say this team is doing just fine.
And are there certain states that are more in focus now in terms of the messages that are be bringing to the campaign trail for her?
I think the important thing to remember is that in this moment, okay, get to the mic. Yes, I mean, new states will be in play because in real time, we are building a new battleground map, and she is putting together her coalition of voters. So that will certainly impact the strategy. But if you look at the groundswell, I mean, it is just, right, right. I don't want to get into too much polling data, but the point is that there's great enthusiasm, a lot of excitement, and we all have already been on the trail, and we can't wait to get back out there.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
We can't keep doing this.
It's been such a tumultuous session of Congress. Democrats have had just, a hard couple of years. It does seem like, there is this sort of new energy.
If it's the one of the questions, we're not going to start over and just start talking. We need to end.
I'm happy to take a turn.
Okay, a lot of this is going to be anecdotal. I can tell you my colleague from Wisconsin told me that 2 weeks ago they had a rally, there were 400 people. This week they had a rally, there were 3,000 people. And I think that's what we're hearing over and over. You could see the number of volunteers that registered overnight when the vice president made her candidacy known. And did you want to?
I just wanted to add to that. Jan Schakowsky from Chicago, and Team Schakowsky has been organizing people who want to go to Michigan and to Wisconsin to help knock on doors. In the last 2 days, 400 people have signed up to get on the bus and go to your state. It's so exciting.
Suzanne Bonamici from Oregon. We've also seen an incredible increase in enthusiasm from younger generations and an increase in voter registration among 18 to 30-year-olds. It's been really phenomenal to see the engagement of younger voters, which is really, really exciting and inspiring.
Okay, now you know the old saying, and then there were none. Maxine Waters. Oh my, okay, this is it.
The woman who's going to have the gavel back in her hands.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh. Let me just say that the response is so great until we have in Los Angeles tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock several thousand people who are showing up to endorse. Not because we had to organize them. They bugged the hell out of us. They've been calling. They have been trying to get connected. And so finally, my daughter and I said, okay, we'll get a place. We'll send the information out to the press. And so I'm anxious to get home, to get on the plane, because tomorrow morning in Los Angeles, there will be this great outpouring of individuals supporting Kamala. We know her. I've known her for years. We know that she's competent, she's capable, she's had a career that leads her right to this moment. This is transformative for America. What we're seeing now is someone who's going to help unify this country, someone who is at the right time, at the right place to do the right things, having not only had a career that led her here, but she had a partner in Biden. I love Biden, and I did not want him to step down, but he did it the right way. He stepped down and he endorsed a woman of color, and it threw everybody into a new kind of possibility that could happen in this country. So I'm delighted, anxious to get out of here. We're going to be jamming tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We be jamming. Talking about it, press conference.